Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're continuing in Phoenix Wright, Justice for All. Oh my gosh, so much has been going on. You know, we've had Old Bag on the stand, we've had Gumshoe on the stand, Francesca got shot, Edgeworth is back and, being odd. But we are now potentially going to be questioning Adrian Andrews. So let's get into it. Dude, I can't believe that Adrian... No way, not cool and collected Adrian Andrews. She is your manager. It would have been very easy for her to pull this off. The only person who had easy access to the knife you used at dinner was, well, her. So, after the ceremony, during the break, huh? I was sleeping like a log the entire time. See? She could have also easily planted that blood-covered button in your hakama. Because she was the one that came to wake me up. And, dude, you're saying it really was her. Yes, she is a real killer. She was the one who murdered Juan Corrida. But why? I thought she was buzzed with Juan. She has her own agenda. Her own agenda. What are you talking about? I'm sure you'll see by the time this trial is over. It'll be alright. I'll get you acquitted by the end of today. Give me a verdict that's refreshing like a spring breeze. Okay, Mr. Lawyer Dude? Phoenix? You think her motives is related to Celeste Impact's missing suicide note, right? Yes. Miss Andrews depended on Miss Impacts as her strength and reason to live. But then Miss Impact suddenly killed herself. Sounds like she left a suicide note, and the person thought to have hidden it is Juan Corrida, the victim of this murder. And that's why I think that Miss Andrews got close to Mr. Corrida. All to get the suicide note back. That sounds plausible. One thing bothers me. What? Who was it that first told us about their relationship? Better stated, Miss Andrews' dependency issue in regards to Miss Impacts. It was Edgeworth. Looks like he's still the one in command of this ship. Don't let your guard down yet. Court will now reconvene. Now that, Mr. Edgeworth, if you please. The prosecution calls for a witness subpoenaed by the court. Miss Adrian Andrews, the person who discovered the crime in Mr. Juan Corrida's room. What is your occupation? I'm the manager of the dependent in this case, Mr. Madangard. I see. Now then, before we begin, Your Honor, I have one request. Yeah, sure. What is it? I'm sure everyone in this room is wondering the same thing. I would love to find out more about my relationship with the victim. After all, it was the topic of a certain weekly magazine recently. No, I have no idea what you mean. I've never heard of gossip land. If the judge was ever a prosecution witness, he'd do all my work for me. Anyway, I was wondering if you could please tell us about your relation to the victim. Yes, I was seeing Mr. Corrida. I was also aware of the rivalry that existed between Matt and Juan. But this was a private matter between Juan and myself. Huh, so it was a fry and bait matter, or was that bait and fry? Reminds me of fishing. But I didn't kill him. No one is accusing you of that. I think there's someone who would beg to differ. I think we all understand your relationship with the victim now, Miss Andrews. Very well, witness. Please testify to the court about what happened when you discovered the murder that had taken place. When it was time for the show to get started, so I went to get Matt from his room. After that, I went to Juan's room, and there was this dead body. I was in shock. When I saw what was naturally the exact same as in the crime scene photos, I felt as though I was about to faint, so I poured myself a glass of juice. You poured yourself a glass of juice? Yes. Sadly, I didn't remember not to touch scenes at the scene of a crime. And I disturbed a crime scene by moving this one thing. And that is when the fingerprints on the wine glass were made, Your Honor. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Phoenix. She is one cool and collected customer, but she has the brains to match. Yes, I know. In order to catch a person like her, you have to avoid head-on confrontations. You should disrupt her pacing. Disrupt her pacing? She's the type of woman who is easily thrown off by things inconsistent with her thinking. So you have to attack when she least expects it. The instant you let up on your offense is the instant this trial is over. Understand? So does it mean that we're pressing a lot of stuff? Like, that's kind of what it's feeling like. Okay, yeah. Okay. So, I am trusting my walkthrough. So, we're gonna press this. You were in shock. What? Was I not supposed to be? Sanders is a very calculating person. And despite how close they were, I doubt she had romantic feelings for Mr. Kurita. Anyone randomly stumbling upon a dead body would be in shock. You can't seriously expect a young beauty like her would not be in shock. Somehow, I don't think beauty has something to do with being in shock or not. Huh, I see. Juice? Yes, there was a bottle of tomato juice on the table, so I helped myself. But you didn't drink any of it, did you? Huh? There were no lip marks on this wine glass to suggest that anyone drank from it. I wasn't feeling terribly great, so I set the glass down without drinking it. Miss Andrews, I would like to confirm with you one more time. When you discovered the dead body of Juan Kurita, you were in great shock. And that's when you poured yourself the glass of juice, correct? And what of it? My mind was a complete blank at the time. Your mind was a complete blank. I didn't think that was possible for you. Aren't you rude today? I was so dazed that I made one careless mistake. That one thing. What one thing? Never mind. It's no big deal. What was she starting to say just now? Here's the thing. I'm assuming we press. Miss Andrews, I'm convinced that as you said, you made a mistake at the scene of the crime. But I really want to know what this mistake was. Actually, so would I. I'm sorry, it's kind of embarrassing. When I set the glass down on the dresser, I accidentally knocked the flower vase over. Flower vase? Are you talking about the one on the floor in the crime photo? This mess up glass shards. It was originally on top of the dresser, but when I bumped into it with my elbow, it fell onto the guitar case. Why did you hold such an important piece of information? I'm sorry. I thought that since the crime scene was already in disarray, that people would simply assume the vase was just another part of the mess. It looks like yet another fact has come to light here. Please add this and anything else you have to reveal to your testimony. I'm sorry, but I have nothing more to add. I didn't touch anything else. But the guitar case was open. Like, look at the crime scene. Not that. That's not the crime scene. The guitar case is open. So I'm gonna press this. What kind of flower vase was it? It was a glass vase and it was fairly big and heavy. I thought I would try to take Juan's pulse. So I set the glass as I was holding down on the dresser, and that's when my elbow accidentally hit the face. That's odd. I thought she was always in total control of herself. And so she would like people to think. Anyway, be mindful of the gap between your perception and reality. Doesn't sound like there's any glaring contradictions in her testimony right now. I warned you earlier that she would not crack so easily. The only way to make her is to keep on the offensive and not let up. There's only one way you're going to catch her with such strong, decisive evidence. Okay. It's not the same as in the crime scene. I do want to make sure that... Because, again, it was open. You testified that you knocked over the flower vase over. Is this correct? Yes. And are you sure it fell onto the guitar case? Is there some problem with what I said? It's not some problem. It's a major problem. It's true that the top of the guitar case was wet with water. However, that's exactly what is so strange. Miss Andrews, you testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case. However, if that was true, the case should have gotten wet on the inside, not the outside. I really love her outfit, though. Like, the full get-up. That's very true. Furthermore, there is one other strange thing about this guitar case. And what is that? Let's take another look at the crime scene photo. The remains of the vase are scattered on the floor, and what's wrong with that? If the guitar case was open when the vase fell, the glass shard should be inside, not outside the case. Objection! What is your point, Wright? That the case was closed at the time the vase was knocked over? Is that all? Objection! No, think back to what Miss Andrews testified to. She said that other than the vase, she didn't touch anything else. Yes, that's right. She did implicitly say she didn't touch the guitar case. But this whole matter with the guitar case is a dead end. The bright red guitar was found at his studio. It has no bearing on this case at all. That may very well be, however. The empty guitar case does seem to have no relation to this case, doesn't it? It seems that there's no deeper meaning to the guitar case. Well, Mr. Wright, do we need to hear more about the guitar case? I think we need to make her testify, I assume. The empty guitar case. I believe this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. I can't believe anyone would reach for straws like this, but it is you. I can't believe I'm doing this either. Alright, I'll follow along for now. Miss Andrews, please testify to the court about the guitar case. Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember too clearly because I was a bit dazed. I suppose I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked the vase over. It's not a big deal, though. The case was empty after all, and that's why I opened the case. Even I don't know. Looks like this really wasn't a very important point. This wastefulness is such a familiar feeling by now, it's almost comforting. Anyway, I'll go ahead and start the cross-examination. Using anyway to change the topic, a convenient escape for a weak man. Okay. She couldn't have done that, because it only had Corita's fingerprints. Objection! There's no way you were the one who opened the guitar case. Why would you say that? It's elementary, my dear. Because the only fingerprints on the guitar case are those of the victim. What is this, Miss Andrews? You shouldn't assume that I must have left fingerprints just because I touched the case. What do you mean? What if I were to tell you that I was wearing gloves at the time? Gloves? But why would you be wearing gloves at the time? It was the night of the award ceremony, so of course I dressed up for the occasion. Yes, now I remember. I'm almost sure I was wearing a pair of thin gloves. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, it seems the witness was wearing gloves at the scene of the crime. That's strange to wear gloves at the scene of the crime. Especially because the wine glass. You were wearing gloves, isn't that a little strange? Why is that strange? Do you have something that would prove that I was not wearing gloves at the time? Take that! I have your proof right here. This wine glass. Wine glass? You left your fingerprints very clearly on this wine glass. Even if you took your gloves off when you poured yourself this glass of juice, you wouldn't think it was just a little strange that you put your gloves back on just to open the guitar case. I feel like I'm gonna say, I'm like, oh, I have like a bajillion glasses. Order, order, order! Looks like you've hit the nail on the head this time. What do you mean? I believe that guitar case plays a very important role here. But it's just an empty case. I wonder if it really was empty, though. But the guitar, the bright red guitar was at the studio. Phoenix, drop all of your presumptions. What was in the guitar case was not bright. What was in the guitar case was not the bright red guitar. You don't mean it was a bright white guitar? Wait, that's not right either. Huh, I admit it would be unnatural for someone to do that. So the witness was not wearing gloves, despite the fact that on the case... Your Honor, this is simply obviously the defense's usual misdirection tactic of work. Steer the court towards an unrelated topic and lull us all into his misguided. No, Your Honor, please recall that Miss Andrews had testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case, which means that the case was closed when the crime took place. However, it is wide open in this photo of the crime scene. I am sure this guitar case has some relation to the murder. If you're so sure, Wright, then I'm sure you can somehow substantiate your outrageous claim, correct? Please, enlighten us as to why that guitar case has anything to do with this murder. Can you do that, Mr. Wright? Well, let's suppose for a second that the bright red guitar was not the only thing that could have been in the case. The bright red guitar not being the only thing, you don't mean to suggest that a bright black guitar was... So, you intend to push your theory that the case was not empty. Is that right? I wouldn't say something I didn't intend to prove. Deflate that head of yours, you haven't proven anything yet. Now, let's have it. What was inside the case at the time of the murder? Okay. This is a photograph, yes, but what's important is what is in that picture, Your Honor. In the picture? It doesn't take a genius to see what I mean. What I'm proposing is... Inside the guitar case was the Nickel Samurai, the hero's very own costume. What? Mr. Wright, explain yourself. Wright, are you saying that the witness opened the guitar case to take out a costume? What insane point would there be to doing something like that? That insane point would be to wear the costume, of course. Miss Andrews puts it on to hide her identity so she could make her escape. After all, you couldn't let anyone see you leave, could you, Miss Andrews? I refuse to accept your theory. You have anything to support such a preposterous idea? Just outside the door was an investigative photographer who was starving for a big scoop. And in the end, she managed to get the shot, correct? You mean this photo? Order! It looks like we've wandered into quite another mess again, haven't we? Nice job, Phoenix. Well, you know my strategy. Speak first, think later. Thank God you're not a cop. Huh, so the real murderer was hiding inside a costume. Wait 1 second, Your Honor. The Nickel Samurai's costume would have been Mr. Matt Engard's. Why would something of the defendant's be in the victim's room? And inside the guitar case of all places? True. It's a little baffling. Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. What was the Nickel Samurai costume doing inside the guitar case? Okay. Do I want to go with the funny option? You know what? We have plenty. Let's do it. I want to see it. I think it may have been stolen from Mr. Engard. Stolen? But why would someone do such a thing? Maybe the thief wanted to interfere with the post-ceremony stage show. And so, if he didn't have his costume, then Mr. Engard would be forced to go naked.
Objection!
Maybe you should be stripped naked and run out for making mockery of this court. This was worth it! This was worth it! Excuse me. So Matt Engard did not take his costume off at the reward ceremony. He even testified that he took a nap while wearing his costume. Is that not correct? Yeah, he did say something like that, didn't he? That's what I thought. You know, that whole line of, you know, Miles Edgeworth saying that Phoenix Wright should be stripped down to nothing, you know, works for the ship. Let's try this one more time, shall we, Mr. Wright? Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. What was the nickel? I wish I could just say it again. Mr. Engard did not take his costume off during the break period. In that case, the costume we were talking about was a spare one. What? Then, are you saying that on the night of the murder, there were 2 Nickel Samurai costumes at the Gatewater Hotel? Yes, that is what I am saying. And how do you explain the costume that was inside the guitar case? It would mean the victim had brought... that the victim himself had brought the spare to the ceremony on purpose. But why? The victim, Mr. Kurita, was the Jammin' Ninja. Why would he secretly bring the Nickel Samurai spare costume with him? What could be the reason behind such a peculiar act? And there lies the sticking point. What are you mumbling to yourself about now? Have you just been rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue? Huh? No, I just... Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why do you think the victim had the Nickel Samurai spare costume? Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one? Think carefully before you answer, and then answer with gusto. I believe you. I think this is what... Alright, this is what I think. The reason the victim brought the Nickel Samurai spare costume to the hotel was... Is it this? Is it the presenting? Because... it specifically says... I have a few things. Okay, so... the Nickel Samurai was going to propose... to confess something. It could have been Juan Kurita being in the Nickel Samurai costume to propose to Adrian, or it's the fact that they didn't want to be like caught because this was going around, or we go to the suicide. But that wouldn't make sense for him to have it. So that's where I'm at. It's one of those two, and I'm not sure which. Because he didn't know. So it's a press conference. Okay. I do double check because I'm like, I don't want to like sit through and then have to go back and fix all that. So I kind of just, I'm like, okay, this is my process. And then I'm like, let me double check and make sure I'm right. What is this? On the night of the murder after the stage show, the Nickel Samurai was going to host a special conference. Press conference? Yes, the Nickel Samurai was supposed to confess something at this conference. I heard about this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right? But what struck me as strange was that Mr. Engard himself said he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night. But how can that be? The way I see it, that can only mean one thing. The conference was set up by none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Kurita himself. The victim? Yes. The spared Nickel Samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Kurita was going to hold the press conference as the Nickel Samurai. He was going to dress up as the Nickel Samurai and hold a conference? But why would the victim do such a thing? That's something I don't quite know yet. However, what I am concerned with right now is what he intended to reveal at that conference. The Nickel Samurai was going to confess something. If I confess, I wagered he was going to reveal something about himself. Which means that Juan Kurita, posing as the Nickel Samurai, was going to speak about Matt Engard. Yes, I guess that's what it would mean. But if that's the case, that's not a confession, that's public discourse. Huh. Miss Andrews, I can see why you're pros at what you do. Pardon me? Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan. Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this. I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him, that was also me. You wanted to bet everything on the Jammin' Ninja this year, and if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought anyway. He was going to ruin him, huh? Looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed. What? And do you know what the secret of Matt Engard's is, Miss Andrews? That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is. I see. I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone, but that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all. Protect Mr. Engard. That is so smart of her. And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth about your behavior. Yes, Your Honor. I understand. God, this is getting so intense. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had the feeling that Matt was a murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what, and he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. Huh. This does account for everything. Well, I am the logical type. We're finally seeing her true self. She's more nervous and a scared rabbit. If the defense can find no fault with this testimony, I'm ready to make a ruling. Please keep that in mind as you cross-examine Mr. Wright. It looks like somehow everything is swung to the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight into this and turn her logic upside down. Okay, let's press this. Would you say that your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things. 3 things? A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. And if you think these 3 things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix. I didn't teach that in school, at least not what I remember. May I continue now? Had to kill him no matter what. Didn't have an alibi. You hardly call the evidence decisive. The knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife would be could very well be a clever camouflage. And then, what about the button? The button. It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and his murderer fought, and during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the Jammin' Ninja's costume. You're talking about this button, correct? That button was found in a plate to Max Hakama. Isn't that correct? I would think that makes a very decisive evidence. Looks like you were outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. I can't stand the sight of a man who can't disgraciously accept his defeat. Thank goodness Mia could still look at me with an icy stare. Yes. Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony. Okay, so that gets rid of the knife. Okay. Where? Because he was strangled and then stabbed post-mortem. That makes sense. This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stabbed to stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died. What does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off by the costume. When? After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly, which means it's impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. That's right, Miss Andrews. There's no way that this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off of the victim's already dead body. Order! Order! What is the meaning? What is the meaning of this right? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve? What purpose? We now know that this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with this button, was it? Wanted to pin the crime on Engard. There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. Engard. There's no way anyone would put a bloody button in their own pants. That's right, Mr. Engard was set up. The real killer, of course. And the real murderer is, well, Mr. Wright. Who in the world is the real killer then? Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. The real person who planned to frame Mr. Engard is Adrian Andrews. Miss Adrian Andrews, I choose you! What, is she a Pokemon? You are Mr. Corrida's killer. What? Order, order, order! Mr. Wright, this is a very good matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Any evidence? All of the evidence points to Miss Andrews. How preposterous! You can't stick any of that on me. I can't, can I? Would you care to test me? Then what about this knife? The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. Engard naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only person who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. Then? What? What about the button that was found in Max's coma? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only person who could have done so were the person who found his body, or the killer. However, if Mr. Engard was the real killer, there's no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own hakama. Ta-da! The only person who could have put this button into Mr. Engard's hakama is the person who went to wake him from his nap, which is you, yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was such a costume inside the guitar case? It could have only been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews. No, Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found in the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposely left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. And to top it all off, there's this photo. photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. Engard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not? Please, stop. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time. Miss Andrews? I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. Is that fourth? I think it's fourth. Oh, yes, you are absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination. Okay, yeah, that is Fourth Amendment. I'm pretty sure. Please, I hope I'm not wrong, because that means everything I learned from my government class in high school is completely useless, which, I mean, maybe, who knows. But, how would this, like, I understand, like, for the states this works, but, like, this is also technically a court in Japan, I think. And I don't think they set it up so that it was, you were playing a detective that was also in the States, but it was localized to be set in the States when they did the translation, I think. So, like, what was this then in Japan? Like, how, I don't know if they have any self-incrimination laws. Again, like, this is just me being curious about all of this, and I really should stop being curious, because then that means that I go down more Google search results, and I probably shouldn't do that. By allowing the witness not to testify, the testimony can damage themselves. What? Pleading the fifth. Fuck! I'm an idiot. I'm a fucking idiot. What is 4? Hold on. I'm curious about this now. What is the Fourth Amendment? God, I feel like such an idiot. Wait, was that the one? It's something about, like, you don't have to, like, unreasonable search and seizure. Fuck. I feel like I should just go. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Engard's room. Adrian Andrews. Yes? Think hard about what we discussed, understood? Alright. That's it. That's when Francisca planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews not to testify if things looked bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. There's still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done. What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What is so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor, but everything the good lawyer has proven up to this point is meaningless. What? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Mr. Burrito. Because we'd have to provide the motive. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Burrito? I believe this may lead me to incriminate myself, so I will abstain from answering. Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so, or maybe not. There's nothing to prove it either way. Besides, I don't even know what crime I'd be guilty of due to my silence. No, she's taking that defiant attitude again. Mia, what should we do? Somehow, we've landed in the worst possible situation. I think we've reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been solely substantiated with solid definitive proof. That's not true. In this situation, there's only one thing this court can do, and that is to declare a recess. Recess? I have requested both the prosecution and defense look further into this matter. And at tomorrow's trial, tomorrow? We don't have a tomorrow. If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial, please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya. But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's sure Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination, however... If the topic of conversation were something unrelated to what she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there is one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a dead body, they're shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect. Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness. Huh. I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today. I can't get a good read off of him. Is he a friend or foe? I just don't know. I have a theory. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrew, if you please. That glass of juice I didn't pour for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and I saw it in that messy state, and Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. I saw him sitting like that. The thought he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. When I realized that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony? I didn't think that I needed to include something so trivial. Phoenix, please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. I know. Edgeworth, what the heck is going on in that brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Okay, let's boogie. Didn't really pour it for myself. The knife is sticking out. There's a photo. So you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him? No, not at all. Even though this is what you saw when you discovered the body? What is the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Corrida's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have immediately thought that there was a dead man. Well, you see. I doubt that a single person in the world will mistake this for someone who fainted, and then so nonchalantly pours something to drink. Your point is, Miss Andrews, your testimony just now, it was all one giant lie. And your lie has proven one thing very clearly, that you are the real killer. No. Sorry, I'm not gonna, like, break y'all's eardrums. With, like, screaming and breaking the mic. I do that on a daily basis. Looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt Engard, is not guilty after all. That's impossible. You're wrong. Miss Andrews, try having some composure. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt. I swear, he's the one who killed Juan. But you were the one who refused to testify, and your reason for not doing so was that you might end up incriminating yourself. That's because... Miss Andrews, I will give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you? I refuse to testify. Then there's no need for this court to continue any further. Mr. Engard's innocence has clearly been demonstrated. Is it over? Have we found the truth at last? What's wrong, Phoenix? Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt. And now that I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't. Now then, I would like to hand down my verdict to Mr. Matt Engard.
Objection!
Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time. But what? The reason is quite simple. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth. I don't want to say absolute justice. Like, unbiased justice? I'm trying to figure out what Edgeworth's, like, form of justice is. I don't want to say absolute justice, because then that's Sakazuki. Sorry, I've been, like, very into my One Piece right now, so, like, my brain is like, which justice is he? It's like the, you know, alignment chart. The absolute real truth. What are you, witness? Don't you understand yet? Huh? I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head. But as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt Engard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party. That's a lie. I don't believe you. What? I was told if I spoke, then it would be all over, and Matt would never be declared guilty. What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it? I can't speak about it. I'm too scared. It's Francisca von Karma. Huh? Don't you remember, Phoenix? Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto words of another. Because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself. Then, right now, Miss Andrews is. Yesterday, she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word, no matter what happens. If you do, Matt Engard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now and is clinging on to them. Then what should we do? This is the first time I've ever crossed anything like this. Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get her not guilty. That's my only priority. It wasn't me. I'm begging you, please. Believe me. You didn't kill Juan. Help. Please. Someone. Help me. Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor. The court can't continue on like this. Therefore, I'd like to hear what you intend to do. What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Right? I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did and what she did not do. And think about who is the real mastermind behind this crime. Who's the real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? There's no one else it could be except the woman crying over there, right? Have we ignored the whole fucking card? Or is that just... Wait, does Phoenix know that the card that she has is the same one that Maya found in, like, her dungeon, like the capture dungeon? Does he know that? Because, like, us as the player, we know that. We know that there's that connection. Come now, what will you do? What kind of man are you, Mr. Phoenix, Wright? Okay, it doesn't matter what we do. I have to win a complete acquittal today. There's no way around it. But I can't bring myself to do it like this. Not when she's making a face like that. Miss Andrews, I would like to know what you're really hiding. Mr. Wright, are you sure you know what you're doing? Sure, Mr. Engard would get an acquittal, but in his place you would be found guilty. Is this how you really want this trial to end? Be quiet. How dare you? You're trying to trick me. That's enough. I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that the defense's theory is the truth. You're wrong. What a shame. I had hoped things wouldn't come to this, however. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to disclose this to the court. Stop. Mr. Edgeworth? This witness, how should I put this? She has an illness. What? And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past. Stop! Please, stop! No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here. That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report. What will you do now, witness? You know what I am about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Adrian Andrews. The secret of her dependent nature. Having other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world. Please stop! I beg of you! People find out! People find out! Oh. If you're going to say you would choose death, that is of no concern to me. Edgeworth, how can you be so cold? However, before you die, I will pull the truth from your still breathing lips. Yeah, I think absolute justice, but not in the Sakazuki way, in like a... I'm gonna say a Sakazuki Garp sort of way. It's where Edgeworth is at now. Very interesting. No matter what I have to do. So, will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me. I'll talk, but please, help me. Nothing matters anymore. I feel so bad. When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted. Honest, when I realized he was dead, that was when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure that there was no one in the hall, I made a dash back to Matt's room. And then I stabbed one dead body with a knife and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returned to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience, and that's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume. Stab the body with the knife, but why would you do that? Isn't it obvious to pin the blame on a certain person, a certain cowardly man? Well, what do you mean by all of this? Might take this court a little while to understand, but this is the truth. The real killer is Matt. A scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's trying to escape his guilt again, just like last time. Last time. So Miss Andrews stabbed the victim Wonka Rita in the chest with the knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt Engard for the murder. And this is her crime. What? How is this possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer? Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence the cross-examination. Holy shit, this is getting even more intense. Okay, so we have to press everything. And that's what we're gonna do. But you can tell from the state of the room that it must have been a fight. Are you telling the truth when you say you didn't know he was dead? He had a scarf tied around his neck, but the scarf is part of Jim and Ninja's costume, so I didn't think anything about it was strange. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. That's why I thought I'd wake him up and went to pour the juice. What is this plan you had? I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because, one, he was going to expose Matt's weakest weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop one and silence him for good. That's when I thought I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt. So the forged piece of evidence was the knife and the button. The first thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. We have to press everything. That was so you could get the knife, correct? The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, then the police would certainly turn their eyes towards him. Matt was napping with his costume on at the time. I slipped in, took the knife, and returned to the scene of the crime. And then I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience.
An inconvenience?
There was a woman with a camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway.
I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Lotto.
There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth.
That's my soul bag for you.
Fred had been caught and made into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once. So I couldn't very well go looking like myself and get caught again. That's why I ended up using the Nickel Samurai costume.
You were the one who prepared that costume, weren't you?
Yes, I took it from the Global Studios. I also put it into Juan's guitar case today before the award ceremony.
You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct?
Yes, and Juan wanted to wear that costume and hold a press conference in it. He was going to disclose Matt's big secret there. And what is the secret? That, I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, then people would think that Matt was the real murderer. And I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume.
I don't want to concede, but this testimony, it rings of the truth.
I'm sorry, Phoenix.
No, please, don't apologize to me. We were both taken by surprise.
Still, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think we have pressed everything.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I pressed everything. Okay, we forgot to do this one. So you're the one to stab the victim with that knife.
Gave me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did. But at the time, I couldn't control my own body. It moved on its own. So then I stabbed Juan's dead body and suddenly realized something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Maddie look even more suspect.
So you thought to rip off one of the buttons and then plan to decide Mr. Engar Takama.
Yes, that's what I had planned to do. But things never go that smoothly, do they?
I think we've heard enough. So, after that, you went back to Mr. Engar's room and planted a button.
Into Matt Takama? Yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into a bag. And I snuck it out of the hotel and got rid of it.
My word, what does all this mean?
Mr. Edgeworth, is it? The real criminal is Matt Engard. Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk.
Francesca, huh?
She said that I should, under no circumstances, confess to what I had done. And if I just kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words.
What this witness has done is clearly unlawful, however, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer. Wait, Your Honor. The defense still... Right? It's pointless. At this point in time, it is not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. Yes, exactly.
There isn't a single piece of evidence that points to her as the murderer. Cross-examination of this witness is over, and so is today's trial. You can establish that the witness was the culprit. Please, let it go, Mr. Wright.
But...
Mr. Edgeworth, please place Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning.
Understood, Your Honor. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately.
That is all. Court is adjourned for today.
I love how we're still in the courtroom. God, that is so creepy. Today's trial. It's over. And I didn't win an acquittal. Witness, would you mind if I asked you something? Edgeworth.
What is it?
Before you leave court today, I wonder if I might look at one thing. The card in your hand. It's had my interest for some time now.
What exactly is it? Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked me about this. Although I didn't remember at the time you asked me about it, Mr. Wright. I remembered just now. I found this in the room on that day.
The room? That day?
Yes. I found this card when I discovered Juan's body. It was lying there next to him.
You found that card next to the victim's body.
I suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But it's not as if this card has any relevance to Juan's murder, right? The person that kidnapped Maya is the same person that killed Juan. Lovely.
Yeah, I guess not, but if it's still a strange card if you ask me, but as far as a clue to this case, I don't see why.
Witness the card! Give it to me! Hurry!
Edgeworth!
Do you have any idea what you have stupidly inadvertently done? I can't believe you hid this from me all this time. I didn't mean to. What is this all about?
I've never seen an Edgeworth so emotional before. That card, what in the world is it, and what does it mean?
So we must not know. Like, we must not have seen... I thought we saw what Maya saw. Like, us as the players saw it. I guess Phoenix didn't, and neither did Mia. This is really interesting. I really like this whole thing of, like, dramatic irony, where it's like, now us as the player has more... We have more information than Phoenix does. Because usually it's always been like, oh, okay, we kind of have to, like, guess around to figure out what we're supposed to do if you're not using a walkthrough. But now it's like, we have information now that Phoenix doesn't. And I think we're going to have to use that information to continue. And apparently now we're a little bit on par with what Edgeworth knows. So that's all really interesting. But that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see y'all next time. Bye.